What's up, you guys? My name is Aubrey and this is my channel, and today I want to talk about the PPP because as we sit here today, we are quickly approaching the deadline of the PPP, and soon the program is set to expire if it doesn't get extended. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about a proposal that lawmakers have brought forward that would allow for an extension and would also revamp the PPP as a whole. So if you're somebody who has received PPP funds, if you're somebody who is wanting to receive PPP funds, then this video is for you. So let's get started. May is quickly approaching, which is quite honestly crazy to think about, not only from the standpoint of, we've now been in this pandemic for more than a year. The CARES Act is something we've been discussing for more than a year, but also from the standpoint of the PPP is actually set to expire at the end of May, which at the time that the PPP was extended, I felt like May was so far out, it wasn't an issue. And to think that we are now closing in on 1 month left in the PPP program is mind-blowing. Now, as we sit here today in April of 2021, the PPP has about $50 billion left in funds. So $50 billion have yet to be allocated, which means these funds can go out to small business owners. So if you're somebody who has not applied for the PPP yet, or you've been dragging your feet, or you've been procrastinating, your time is quickly running out. And I would encourage you that if you are eligible for the PPP, that you should apply for that as soon as possible because your time is very literally running out. But that isn't what I want to talk about today. And instead, in today's video, I would like to talk about a new bill that was introduced this past week that would revamp the PPP and allow for the smaller employers, so farmers, self-employed individuals, independent contractors, solo entrepreneurs, to better take advantage of the PPP program. This bill is a PPP Flexibility Bill, and the title of the bill is PPP Flexibility for Farmers, Ranchers, and the Self-Employed Act, and it was introduced by the Democratic Senator Ben Cardin. And what this bill would do, it would allow for solo entrepreneurs, independent contractors, farmers, basically people that have a business but may not have employees. It would allow for you to retroactively go back and apply for more funds through the PPP. Now, you guys may remember that a couple of months ago, President Joe Biden announced a change to the PPP that would allow for solo entrepreneurs to calculate their PPP loan based off of gross income rather than net income. This was substantial because of the fact that up until that point, PPP loans were calculated by net income, so income after expenses and after deductions were taken into account. This meant that there were a lot of people out there that made money through their business, but because of deductions and because of expenses, there was a negative number reported on their tax return on their Schedule C, which then made them ineligible for PPP funds. This meant that people with legitimate businesses with legitimate income streams sometimes were simply not eligible for PPP because of this difference. Well, whenever President Joe Biden made this change a couple of months ago, it changed this dramatically, and it made it so that people who were once ineligible for the PPP now were not only eligible, but could have been eligible for a pretty substantial amount. The big thing here was that you could only take advantage of this if you hadn't already applied for the PPP. So if you were somebody, for example, that applied for the PPP last summer and you were denied because of the negative number on your Schedule C, well, you could go back once this change was made and you could reapply, and you could not only have been approved, but been approved for way more than you would have originally been approved for. But if you were somebody who applied over the summer, you were approved under the PPP with that net income, but your net income was substantially smaller than your gross income, as it most likely would have been, you could not go back and reapply for more funds based on this new formula. You were just kind of screwed. Well, what this new bill does is it actually allows for you to go back and reapply for more funds based off of your first or your second draw PPP based on this new formula. So in the same example, if you're somebody who applied for the PPP over the summer, you based your loan off of net income, you received a smaller amount because of this, you could now go back and you could apply for more funds based off of that same figure's gross income. Now, according to this new bill, the retroactivity of the PPP would go back to December 27th, 2020. So it wouldn't go back to like the enactment of the CARES Act in the PPP. It would just go back to December 27th. In addition, it would be up to the SBA to figure out exactly how this process would work. How would people go in and apply for retroactive payments for their PPP? Would they do it directly through the SBA? Would they do it through their lender? Would they have to do it through invite only, similar to the EIDL program? Would it be a portal that they apply through? That is something that would be up to the SBA, and I am predicting that it will probably be a bit of a mess while they try to figure that out if this bill gets passed. So there are quite a lot of questions that need to be answered before people would even be able to take advantage of these retroactive payments. In addition, it is important to note that these retroactive payments would only be eligible for one of the two loans. So for example, if you received a first draw and a second draw, you would not be able to get retroactive on both, only one. In addition to that, it is important to note that this would not only benefit self-employed individuals and solo entrepreneurs, but also farmers and ranchers as well, as they were also people that kind of have gotten screwed by the PPP, and this rule would allow for farmers and ranchers to also go by gross income. Now, there are still a lot of questions that have yet to be answered, and real questions that will determine how useful this type of act will actually be in an applicable circumstance. Number one is, can we get this bill passed before the PPP expires? Number two, even if we get this passed before the PPP expires, will we get it passed before the PPP runs out of funds? Like I said at the beginning of the video, the PPP only has about $51 billion left. Third, will we get this passed in time for people to actually start taking advantage of it? In some cases, PPP funds take a couple of weeks to actually be distributed out. So how will lawmakers and bankers and the SBA kind of counter this timeline in order to get these funds distributed in an effective and efficient way? And these are really substantial questions that will have a huge impact on not only this bill getting passed, but having this bill be useful in a real way. Now, honestly, you guys, there's a lot of things that are up in the air right now with the PPP. This act will be extremely helpful for so many people that kind of got the short end of the stick with the PPP last year. And if this bill can get passed, it will allocate so many funds to people that really should have gotten more funds to begin with. But with this really tight timeline, I'm not sure if this actually will become a reality. And I think that there are a lot of ifs that we have to take into account before we can count on any more money. But I do think that there is a possibility that the PPP could get extended. I also think that there's a possibility that the PPP could get more funds. But we'll have to ultimately wait and see what ends up happening because of the fact that this would all need to be done within the next 5 to 6 weeks by the time the PPP is set to expire at the end of May. Now, one other piece of news that I would like to mention, but isn't substantial enough for an individual video, is a tax credit that President Joe Biden announced a couple of days ago. Now, this is a tax credit for businesses that pay for their employees in paid sick leave to go out and get the vaccine. According to an announcement made by President Joe Biden, there will be a tax credit for employers that allow for their employees to get their vaccine, and they offer them paid leave in order to do it. The eligibility period will run from April 1st to September 30th, and the amount that the Biden administration will pay is $511 per day for up to 80 hours of paid leave for employees who go and get their vaccine on company time. Now, this is just one of the many types of initiatives that the administration and lawmakers are trying to make to get people vaccinated, but also allow for employers to really foster an environment that encourages vaccinations. And so if you're somebody that is an employer and you have employees, then potentially exploring this tax credit could be a big benefit to you by allowing your employees to go out and get the vaccine on company time. Now, it is important to note that this payment is not retroactive. So for example, if your employees started getting the vaccine in March, you would not be able to apply for that tax credit. Your employees have to get vaccinated between April 1st and September 30th. So keep that in mind if you're somebody who has a business and you could potentially take advantage of this tax credit. Now, the reason why I didn't make a standalone video on this tax credit is, one, there isn't a ton of information out on this tax credit and how to go about claiming the tax credit and how exactly it will work. But number two is, typically the viewers who watch this channel, you guys aren't super interested in like very niche-y tax credits like this one. So if I'm wrong on that, and if you're interested in learning more about this tax credit, let me know down in the comment section below, and I can make a standalone video on that if there is enough interest. But like always, you guys, I wanted to make this video because the PPP is closing in quickly, and I think it's really important to take advantage of this program while it's available to you, and to also know what resources you have available to you as well. This act that was just introduced by Senator Ben Cardin is a great act to have, but there is a big question that needs to be asked of, is it too late? And I think that that is a valid question that we don't really know quite yet, because there is a chance the PPP could be extended. There is a chance it could be allocated more funds. Time will tell. But like always, you guys, if you have any questions, comments, or if you have anything to add, then make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.